Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week so far and that it's been a good one. Cheers to everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining in for happy hour. I am super excited about today's guest, Miss Angelina, or Miss A, the shop teacher. She's going to be joining us in just a little bit, and I know you guys are just going to love her. She's a phenomenal technician. She's a shop instructor. She's seriously an electrical wizard. She's a goddess when it comes to doing wiring, and just an all-around phenomenal person. So I'm really excited for her to join us. Hopefully we'll see her here in just a little bit. I don't see anything from her quite yet. Hopefully she'll be joining in. In the meantime, somebody asked what's in the glass. This is whiskey. That is my drug of choice.
Hey!
Yay! You did it!
It kicked me out the first time. I was like, what the heck?
No!
Technical
It
difficulty.
wanted to make you work for it.
Yeah. It's about the journey.
Right? Absolutely. Look at those bangs. I love it.
Thank you. It's hard to get used to. You know me, I'm like the backwards hat all day, every day, and it makes it very difficult. So it's this odd habit to break, not wearing a hat, and I feel naked without it still. It's been months and months.
I hear you. Well, really quickly, for everybody out there who doesn't know you, before we get into just our wild chit-chatting, tell all of our lovely viewers who you are and what you do.
I am Angelina Alcantar, and I work at a Play-Doh factory. No, I'm just kidding. I teach automotive at Riverside City College. I used to be a technician. I worked on cars since I started at about 15. Before that, a little bit was really more of just like sitting behind my neighbor at the time and just like being in awe of like what is that and what is that and what is that. My dad doesn't know much about cars. He is a musician, so he's a music man, and cars are none of his concern at all. So I don't really come from a family of mechanics. It was so I was like an odd duck. I really don't know where I got it, but really since then I started tinkering. I got my 98 Honda Civic, which I'm actually sitting in front of right now.
I love it.
Trying to spend more time with her. And broke lots of things, and then got into the industry. And after probably about 8-ish years being a formal tech, I was given a position, well, not given a position, but offered a position as an instructor. And I was like, really? Like, people are going to trust me to like teach them about cars? And it was really, really weird, but I love it. I wouldn't do anything different. I love my job.
I love it, and I think this is the first time we've had, or I've had a shop instructor on Happy Hours. So
first time.
Yeah, and I love it because we talk all the time about the tech shortage and how we need more technicians, but we don't often talk about the fact that we have a serious tech instructor shortage too. Like, there's not a lot of folks doing what you do and being willing to share their knowledge and put up with high school age kids and college age kids, and there's not a lot of people doing that. So I bow down to you seriously for doing what you do. I think it's absolutely amazing, and I have a lot of respect for all of the shop instructors out there.
Thank you.
Thank
you. It's one of those things, you really ought to like what you do, because if you don't, the other things can be tough to deal with. But I enjoy helping the next generation of technicians. I think you talk about all the time about this industry lacking mentorship, and that I felt like was a big obstacle for me. So if I can help anybody in that same place that I was and say, hey, here's a couple of extra little tips. Do this, don't do this.
Right.
And just to help them show the ropes. I think even more than the information given, the comfort of like, oh, I've got somebody on my team that's going for me, and a resource. I still have students from years ago who will message me every once in a while and say, hey, I'm working on this thing. What do you think? And not even that I there are lots of people who've been working on cars for a lot longer than I have, but I help with what I know. If it's something I know about, boom, I've done 10 of those. This is what you should expect.
Right.
Or I've never done that before, but this is what I would do.
But try this, and this. Yeah.
Yeah, just to throw out a life preserver of some sort, because I've been there, like I've been in the shop where I'm like just Googling everything because I don't want to necessarily show like, oh man, I've never done this job before, which by the way, all you young technicians out there are getting in there, like that's it. Most of your jobs coming in for the first few years, you're gonna be like, oh shit, I've never done this before.
Totally.
And you just got to figure it out. But that's half the fun.
You got to be willing to ask questions and willing to know that you don't know. I mean, shoot, even now. I mean, you've been a technician for how long?
I'm going to be 32. So, I've been working on cars for 17 years, but I started formally as a technician when my first job, I would have been 19 at a private repair facility. So
you've got some years under your belt, right? I've got some years under my belt.
Oh yeah,
like,
you've got a lot of years.
Something new every day, right? Like,
right.
I'm still learning, and there's still things that I encounter. And just like you said, having somebody that you can ask the questions and like be on your side and be a cheerleader for you, because too many shops, I see there's a lot of great mentors out there and a lot of great people who are mentoring the young kids coming up, but I also see a lot of older techs who are like, I don't want to share my secrets with you. I worked way too hard to learn that stuff to teach some young punk, right? Like that's not cool.
Yeah, I hate that so much. I can't even tell you. It bothers me when people are like that, and I see it and I'm like, man, you are a real punk. Like, all right, come over here, kid. Let me show you. Let me show you what's up, because that you don't want that person's information anyway.
No, because we all started somewhere. Come on, right? So I have so many things that I want to ask you and catch up with you on, because it's been a long time. But God, how has teaching been during this pandemic? Like, what's that been like for you?
So,
do you need another drink?
On that, so sorry, I had to take a big one there.
That's okay.
It has been incredibly challenging. Not that teaching wasn't already a challenge. At least, sure. I don't know. For me, I'm a perfectionist. I think like many of us are. And so every semester, I don't go any semester without overlooking every single PowerPoint I go over. Even though it's like, man, I've taught this same thing over and over and over and over. And I'm in for 5, 6. I've been teaching for about 6 years. Wow, that's weird. Starting at the high school, and there are some things that I'm continuing to teach since then, but things have changed. This industry, and the reason why I like it so much, is because you're never caught up. When you think you're caught up, you're doing it wrong, because you've got a false sense of confidence is what you got, because nothing is this industry never stops growing. And so every time I do a presentation on lubrication systems, or every time I do a presentation on fuel injection, there is some extra piece of information that needs to be added in or edited and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time prepping for my classes regularly. This has quadrupled the amount of work, and in good and bad ways. I have always wanted to do YouTube videos for students that couldn't make it to class that day, or just people out there who maybe don't live in the same state as me and you know, is not able to attend the program or whatnot. If there's these little tidbits of information, I'd like to throw it out there. And I love how on YouTube, there's so many different videos of the same thing. So you can get so many different perspectives, and all of us learn in different ways. You might explain something to me and I'll get it. But the next person might not, or I might not understand what the hell you're talking about, but the next person explains the same thing, and it makes total sense. So I've always wanted to do some YouTube videos. Bless you. And bless you. That's your last one. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I've always wanted to do videos, and I never got the chance, and this sort of forced me to. So that was a really cool thing. But all you YouTubers out there, I already had so much respect for you, like, but so much even more, like, it's hard to put together videos. And I thought, like, okay, I'm just gonna walk on camera and do it like I do my class. Like, why is that any different? I'll just pretend like there's students there. You can't do that. You can't do that at all. So there's so many things that I've learned, just, you know, little things in videos are so irritating, but when you're in lecture, you don't notice because it's real life. But, you know, if I do like this, like every 5 minutes, you're going to notice if you're watching a video of me. So I'm like, oh my God.
Now you're editing your own videos too, yeah?
I've only just started, like, so if anybody's watched any of the videos, the beginning, if you haven't, the beginning ones, I warn you, they are really bad because I didn't edit anything at all. It was just, you got it all. You got all the sneezing fits. You got all, like, I got, my throat is dry. I need to get something to drink, what, you know, and
just like we were in class with you.
Exactly. It's the experience. No. But the last few videos I was able to edit successfully, in my opinion, on my standards. But I really give a shout out to guys like the Science Garage guys, the way they provide their visuals and everything. Like, that is on a whole nother level of goals. One day, I need to take some video editing classes. But next semester we're supposed to go hybrid. So sorry, I feel like I'm doing all the talking, but
no, please, that's how this works.
This has been so nerve-wracking for me because a lot of the schools, and if you guys are watching, your teachers and you're dealing with the same thing, let me know what your schools are doing. Our school right now is we're supposed to be going back hybrid in the fall for most of our lab classes, because they fought for online only brakes classes, engine classes, tune-up classes, and the CTE instructors, all of us fought to pretty much say, look, that's not what you want. You think you want that, but you don't want that. No. And really, what are you trying to save? You know, are you trying to save the money? Are you trying to just get students in the class? Or are you trying to provide a quality product that is going to benefit our students and really help them get jobs? Because nobody really wants to have a student who took a brakes class do the brakes on their car, right? Especially you're the first one. Like, nobody wants that.
Totally.
So we had to sort of break it down in that way. And so they're like, oh, okay, I guess you got a point. And they gave us a hybrid alternative for an online lecture in an in-person lab. So we'll see how that works. It's definitely a lot better than an online option. So I'm excited.
No, I mean, it may work for an English class or a history class to be online only, but to do it's a hands-on skill. Inherently is hands-on.
Exactly. And not just that, but the students who fall in the categories of CTE, like automotive, welding, HVAC, we are good at these things because of the way we learn, and the way we learn is with our hands. So even if you could watch YouTube videos, most of the CTE learners don't learn that way. Yeah. So it's I'm happy that they decided to go that route. Now, it'll be interesting for lecture because, and this is just me personally, I've got ADD pretty bad. I'm well, you know me. It's like talking to a golden retriever, like, oh, squirrel. What else? What's
Oh,
going on?
come on. You say that about yourself, but that is not true. This woman may say that she's like, oh, shiny. And yes, we all have those moments, but I have never seen such intense focus and such intense concentration as coming from this woman when she was wiring up an engine. Like,
Oh, thanks,
it's just
babe.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It makes me feel good to hear that. Thank you. Because I can be a squirrel sometimes. But
We are.
so but from that learning perspective, I got to sit in front of the class. If I sit in the back of the class, I will squirrel. Like I'll zone out, I'll start drawing, I'll be paying attention to whoever's doing. And that's me as an adult, you know. I can
Right.
only imagine teenagers or younger folks. Um, so an online lecture, as much as right now I know we're all really just trying to get through this,
Totally.
I am, it scares me to hear people say like this is the future, and I'm like, well, hold on, it's right now, and I get that,
Yeah.
but I don't know that that's really for the greater good for this industry in education.
No.
But
I don't know
that's
that it's
just
for the
me.
greater good in any industry with education. Like I think there's something so much to the interaction that needs to be had for students, but that's a whole other story. But
Oh yeah.
particularly, you're right, like particularly for the trades, it's got to be hands-on. I mean, eventually they have to transition from book smarts to hand smarts and being able to how do I physically take this thing apart and put it back together again? And that's something you can't learn in a book.
Right, right. And that's just that you have to screw up.
Yeah,
You have to screw up in order to learn. I feel like failure is the best teacher. It's the hardest teacher.
totally.
It's the most aggressive, the one that we don't really want to talk to. But
Right.
when you fail at something, that you're so much more less likely to make that mistake again than if somebody was to just show you or tell you.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like I think it was Charles, the humble mechanic, who's actually on here. At least I think I saw him earlier.
hey,
He had
Charles.
said at one point, and I thought it was just a really valid point. Like one of the biggest values of going to a tech school versus just going right out into the field is that tech school is like the safe place to f up because you're gonna f up no matter what, right? Hi Charles,
Right.
he's back.
Hey.
um like, you're gonna make mistakes. That's gonna happen. If you can make those mistakes, those really bad mistakes, early on in your career while you're in trade school, where it's safe, where maybe you'll get a bad grade but you're not gonna send a customer out in an unsafe vehicle or lose your job or all of the rest of it, right?
Right.
Like, it's the safe place to
Exactly.
do it. So
Exactly. You got to have a safe place to do that, because you are not if, maybe you are going to screw up. That's just a matter of fact, and it's about getting comfortable with that. But more importantly, it's, as educators, I think it's important that we provide that. Now, at least I'm sure all the other automotive educators out there do the same thing. We obviously encourage that students take care and pay attention to what they're doing so they don't make silly mistakes, because
sure.
there's a difference between a silly mistake that just should not have been made, and then one where you were genuinely trying to do something, this is the way you thought to do it, and it was the wrong way. But
Totally.
it's one of those things. So we'll see. My fingers are crossed. I don't think any of us have ever seen anything like this. Just this whole situation happen before, in education, in the world. So we'll see what happens. But
1918 was the last time, right?
right, yeah, and I don't
Literally.
think many people are alive from that today. So
Not many.
maybe some vampires.
All right, so I've got to switch gears a little bit because when I posted that you are an electrical goddess, there was a bunch of comments about how electrical work is like the most intimidating, and it's not shown a lot on the TV shows and all of the rest of it, and that is true. Like you don't see people sitting and building wiring harnesses on TV. Why? Because it's tedious and
Yeah,
slow.
nobody wants to watch that.
It's not very interesting to watch. No. But how? Because you're magical with this, and I think it intimidates a lot of people. But watching your approach, and for those of you who have not had the benefit of being able to see anybody build a wiring harness from scratch, like watching Angelina like take over a whole area of the shop floor, lay out her roadmap, lay out the wires, like, figuring it all out was just absolutely an amazing thing to watch. How how did you get into that as kind of a specialty of yours?
So I still don't even really feel like I'm a specialist. I just, I it was actually out of necessity. I was so my first job as a tech was at a mom and pop shop, just working on random stuff. The second job was at a Honda dealer. Royer, I think I saw you out there. One of the fellow techs I used to work with.
Nice.
I learned a lot of diagnostics. But you're not wiring anything. When I left there and eventually got my way to a hot rod shop, Ted's Rod Shop in Riverside, I I was completely inexperienced with hot rods. I am born and raised fuel injection. Like people talk about like grassroots carburetors. Like I think it's awesome, but I am born and raised computer
Yes.
controls, fuel injection.
Yes.
So that that is life. And so going to something like that seems like, oh, it's going to be so much more simple. It's a different animal. And so there was so many cool things that I learned from my fellow techs, from my manager, from even some of the customers that would come in. We had like super awesome older customers that, they were really, you could tell that they worked on a lot of cars, but they're and they're in their 70s or 80s and may not be in the physical shape. So, when you get
Right.
there, you got to take your car in. And so even gathering knowledge, I was like a sponge there. I just felt like, man, there's so much information that I just need to soak it all in. So my boss, I understood electrical pretty well. I did really well in those classes. When I was a student, I participated in the Skills USA competition, and
Awesome.
that's actually how I got my job in Honda. I don't want to go on a tangent because I'm about to scroll right now, but
No, no, no.
uh,
We'll come back to that because I think that's an important story.
so the electrical happened to be my best station, and the judge that she ended up working for Honda, and that's how I went down that route. But for the first time, I actually recognized like, oh, okay, so this might be an area that I'm good at. So I continued more down that route as far as my focus as a technician. I loved the stuff that came in with electrical problems, fuel pumps that didn't turn on, any solenoids that didn't turn on, random stuff like that. And just the practice in screwing up, that all helped me understand so much. But I really have to give a shout out to my electrical instructor. That is Paul O'Connell at Riverside City College. Talk about just you find an instructor who, however they explain it, it happened to be in my language, and it's like I could just see it, and it made sense. The light bulb turned on, and so because I had the theory down so well, like so concrete, it made everything else easy. All I had to do was read directions, because I
Right.
knew what power and ground was. I knew what the components did. So I didn't even really have to know certain, like, I think my first electrical ASE test I took, there were circuits that I'm like, I don't know what that is. It might as well be a continuum transfunctioner, but I know how an electrical circuit works. And that's all I needed to know. And it was that. I feel like my strong electrical theory foundation really helped me out. And no matter what circuit I cross, I know those basic principles apply. So that's why I feel so passionate teaching that subject, because I'm like, you need this concrete, we're laying the foundation down, you'll need this later. It sounds silly. You're like, Ohm's law, why do I need to know that? But that was really what helped me understand when I'm
Right.
building stuff. So into the hot rod shop, my boss, I want to say it was in early 80s Blazer, square body, and we were restoring it, and he handed me the speedway box for the harness, and was like, "You're going to wire that." And I was like, "I've never, you don't understand. I've never done that before. I don't know how that works." And he's like, "You'll figure it out." And I did. It took me
And you
obviously a
did.
lot longer than normally would, but I took it slow, and I double checked everything. Okay, that's supposed to be there. That's supposed to be okay. That has power and that has ground. There's switch power, like, is this correct power, 12-volt battery? So getting those basics down and taking my time on that first project really helped me out. And honestly, I want to continue down that direction as it applies to computer controls. I've already done some electronics classes, so it's a fun subject. It's fun to talk about.
I love it, and it intimidates people so much, but I think your point is so valid, and it's not just for electrical, it's for everything. Like if you have a really firm grasp of the basics, like then everything else is just building off of that. Like it doesn't matter what kind of car you're working on, what make or model it is. Like people ask me all the time, like, what's my favorite, engine to work on or car to work on? I'm like, I don't care. Is it broken? I can fix it, right? Like it's getting back to the basics and knowing that when you break it all down, it's Ohm's law, it's power and ground. And when you're talking about engines, it's the four strokes. It's all the
Seriously.
same thing. And then you add computers on top of it, but the computers are just processing the information, but it's still the same information that was
Right.
always there.
we're just
Right?
we're just gathering that information now. We're just now collecting that information because it's useful. And that's, I guess that's why I like computer control stuff so much. But you're absolutely right. If you know the foundational knowledge as it applies to any of the theory, alignment, engine theory, as a, four stroke cycle, valve overlap, those basic things, you can get into things like dwell. How long is the what measurements are going to affect the amount of time that the piston is going to spend around TDC and stuff like that. Those things seem so complicated, but if you know the foundation, all you have to do is read directions after, or all the new information falls in place. It allows you to play Tetris in your mind with this new information as long as you have that good base. So
I love that. And it allows you to figure out models that you've never seen before. Like there's plenty of times I'm sure you've experienced it where you work on something, you're like, I've never worked on one of these before. But you can still figure out like, okay, that has to be this because that's that. And you can make it make sense because you understand the basics of it. It doesn't matter if you've never seen it before, right?
exactly.
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions here. It looks like nope, all of those have been answered already. All right.
I saw a couple of my students.
Yay.
Olivia, what's up?
That's awesome.
Just want to say hi. Oh, I can't. Hannah, I know I saw your comment somewhere, but I can't find it. George, what's up? How's it going, kid? I miss my students. That is probably
I
my biggest
bet.
thing. I miss my students.
I bet that's got to be so hard because you stay with some of your students. You stay with them for multiple years, don't you?
So at the high school, I had students that
Oh,
I had from freshman all the way through senior year, got to watch them graduate. I'm not going to lie, may or may not, nothing is confirmed, shed a tear during the ceremony, because getting to watch kids grow up was really cool, and to help them,
yeah.
um, give them a skill that they can get a job with. So they'll never be hungry, no matter what. You could be on the streets, but if you got a skill, like how to work on cars, you'll never go hungry. At the college, our program is a 2-year program, so I generally do spend quite a lot of time with my students, and it's not quite as can't think of a word that would be appropriate, but they don't, it's not like UTI where they have a start and an end. They have a start class, and then they can go in whatever direction they want and
Oh,
take as
okay.
long as they want. So I've
Okay.
had students that finished in a year and a half, which is, man, that's hard work. I really tip my hat to the people who are able to do that. But most of the time, it's usually 2, 3, sometimes 4 years. Because if you're working full time, you may only be able to take 1 or 2 classes at a time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you
I
really
gotta
develop
ask
a.
you,
Oh yeah.
as as a not just as a woman, but as a younger woman, like how was it transitioning into teaching and getting the respect of the students? Has that been an issue for you at all? Have you found like that being younger is helpful because you can relate more to them, or is it how does that work?
It's a little bit of both. um, I do feel like that being younger, I am able to relate to some of my students a little bit better, and in that respect, maybe be a little less intimidating sometimes. So that can be helpful. I have had my fair share of students who I've really had, they made me earn their respect. They made me work hard to earn their respect. But to be completely honest, I have to attribute a lot of how I do what I do today to you, because that one SEMA, it wasn't the first SEMA that we went to
There's
after the montage, might have been the
second.
second,
Uh-huh.
where you showed me the power pose and you showed me the TED talk, and
I so
you.
remember that.
Yes, that will get that night went down in history in my brain, because it forever changed the way I carry myself. Um, I didn't realize so much how a lot of how your inner feeling can be affecting what you're projecting out. Or even you might be feeling fine, but what you're projecting out says, hey, I'm unsure of what I'm saying, even though I know it. I've done this 20 million times. I know what I'm saying, but my body language doesn't. And so being able to change my body language, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
really, truly insane how much that has made my life easier,
Yeah.
because rather than being questioned at every turn, it's like, oh, okay, okay, okay. So I'm able to actually teach at a higher level, because rather than having to convince people like, hey, I'm up here because I'm this or that, it's, this is what I have to offer you. And you know what? Now that we're not busy talking about all the bull crap, now we can actually get into the advanced stuff and have more fun
Right.
conversations and address the technical questions, rather than trying to challenge my character,
Right.
who I am, because that's not important. I'm just I mean, I might as well be a cartoon character. That's not important. What's important is the information that I'm able to give to my students.
Yeah. Somebody asked, can we share what that whole night was about? So
Oh,
do you want to share what that is? What the lesson was?
uh, okay, and then you can fill in the blanks if
Okay.
if I miss anything.
Okay.
Um, so there is a TED Talk. I cannot remember the
You know, I don't
um,
remember her name. How horrible
woman's
is that?
name.
I
I
know
know
me
it's
either.
so bad, but if you look up TED Talk Power Pose, you will find it. And this woman gives an excellent explanation, scientific, which that's my brain. Like, that's when people
Yes.
explain things. I like numbers. I like facts.
Right. I want the proof. I want to
That's
know
the
how it
language.
works.
That's the
Yes.
language that my brain speaks. I'm not really good at all with um, like just encouragement. And so uh, her explanation of the wild and what gorillas do, what peacocks do, essentially to show, I guess you can say, dominance. I'm not trying to show dominance, but the movement of your body actually affects the hormones that your body produces, and
Yes.
the hormones that your body produce actually affect the way that you feel. And it turns out that if you've noticed that a lot more women tend to be less confident, it's not necessarily, well, there's many factors, but one of the factors is actually hormones. And men tend to be a bit more confident, because they have more testosterone. And so if we're able to increase our testosterone a little bit, you're able to gain that same confidence. And it's quite interesting how confidence really affects things more so than so many other things.
Yeah.
Um, but what am I,
And,
I what am
and
I
it's
missing?
no, well, it's this idea that how you stand, how you hold yourself will actually affect your brain chemistry. And that will make you both feel more confident, but also appear more confident. And so even when you're feeling insecure, this woman's TED Talks, her premise and her research that she does is all about like when you take some time to center yourself and ground yourself and stand up straight and shoulders back and head up and like to feel powerful and to feel confident, you will actually portray confidence. And so it's it's what I think I really had to practice when I was starting to do public speaking for the first time, because I was, public speaking is terrifying for a lot of people. And it was terrifying for me too. I got horribly nervous, the first, 100 times I had to publicly speak, right? But I would literally practice this before getting out on stage. It wasn't that I didn't know the information. It wasn't that I didn't know the material. It wasn't that I wasn't confident. It's that I had nerves and I was, anxious. And so taking that time to ground myself and feel strong allowed me to go out and portray confidence. And especially when you're dealing with kids, because kids are like, they'll find whatever weakness they can, right? Like
They're
they're going
good
to
at
find
that.
whatever
Yeah.
weakness that they possibly can. And if you give them that inch, they'll take a mile. So it's being able to present to them like, I do know what I'm talking about. I'm here as your instructor. I am confident. I know the material, and it's being assertive in and clear. And I think that's what that TED Talk was all about. And I think it's a big thing for all of us in so many areas of our life, not just instructing, but yeah.
Yeah. So do and you don't even have to do it in front of people to affect your behavior. That was the wild thing. In my, when nobody's looking, I do a Wonder Woman pose, or just like, a starfish, I guess, a starfish pose.
Yes.
Just the bigger you make yourself, you can actually affect testosterone production, and in doing so will make you feel more confident. And so when you step out into class, what's nice is it even allows me to think clearer, because now I can again focus more on the information than the inside of like, oh my
Rather than
God, like
nerves.
he looked like he didn't believe what I just said right now. And not yeah, those nerves. So it helped me so much. So I know I've told you like a million times, but thank you, you seriously. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you tremendously. And uh-oh, you're breaking up a little bit. I hope, are you still there?
I am. Can you
You
hear
froze a little bit.
me? Uh-oh. Am I still frozen?
Uh-oh.
Ah,
Uh-oh. No, well, kind of, sort of. You're a little staticky, but you're there. You're there. All right.
okay.
I appreciate that. It goes both ways, girl. Like Angelina, we've seen each other at both our best and our worst, I think. You've definitely seen me at the height of stress and at my best moments as well. And we've grown up a little bit together over the last several years. I mean, God, who we each are now versus when we first met during the Chevy Montage. Like, it's crazy to me to think about like how far we've come. So the feeling is
Yeah,
mutual.
that I really feel like so many things have changed since then. That was for so many of us, and I'm sure including yourself, the montage was really like the first chance to work on stuff with other females. And so I know by the time I got to you, you had been doing it already for a little while, but I imagine at the beginning it was kind of like, okay, I wonder how this is going to be. What's the dynamic going to look like? You
Yeah.
know, I know I was thinking like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't have any expectations. I just knew it was going to be different, or I felt like it was going to be different. Um, and it was in so many good ways. There was so much, just words. I can't think of words. That just companionship is not the word I'm thinking of, but that community, that feeling of just like I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And even after working on cars for so long, like I didn't just not seeing anybody out there. There is this part where you put the tough skin on. You're like, yes, whatever, it's no big deal. Like, I
Yeah.
don't I don't need that, but you do. And
Yeah.
it helps. It just helps show you what else is out there. I'm not alone, and the feeling of just not being alone was all. I mean, it was really all I needed, because it allowed. It again allows me to focus on so many other important things, tactical
Yeah.
things, rather than, the things that
Than
don't
the
even
rest of
really
it.
matter.
Totally. And I think that's the thing, because people will say a lot like, oh, so are you saying that only women, like women should only work together with other women? And like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, I love working with men. I love working with women. I love both. But for so many women in this industry, we've never had that opportunity to work with another woman or to work in an all-female environment, and just having that experience and that validation and knowing I'm not alone, there's other people like me, I'm seen, right? Like, I am valued and I'm seen. Like, that in and of itself, I think, allowed so many of all of us, myself included, to like go back out into our jobs where we were working with men and excel and have more confidence and do better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It just that it provided that community for growth.
Yeah.
It provided it's like good soil with good nutrients to help growth. I was repotted that day. I was repotted, and I was able to get more nutrients to grow. That's really how I feel. And I felt like everybody felt that way too. Because yeah, and there's no need to be like only women should work with
No.
women or men should work with men or anything like that. I think working with good people is fun, no matter
Amen.
who they are. But
Yeah. Amen to
just
that. Working with
to
good people. Working with
work.
bad people is no
Yeah,
fun, but
yes, here is to working with good people. What are you drinking, by the way?
I am drinking whiskey.
Hold
What are
on,
you
hold on,
drinking?
hold on. Can I guess? It's gonna
Yeah.
be either Basil Hayden's or Buffalo Trace.
Neither.
No, what are you drinking?
I know. Those are my old standbys. I
Is
am
your
drinking the
go-to?
last of my Jefferson's Ocean.
Which? Oh, which
I know.
voyage? Which
19.
voyage is it? 19. Okay, I don't think I've had 19. I
Yeah.
love Jefferson Ocean. It's good.
I know. So
Super.
for those of you who don't know, Angelina and I both love our whiskeys. She is way smarter about whiskey than I am. She knows way more than I do. But
The
we both
drinking problem.
very, very much love our whiskeys. And Angelina introduced me to Jefferson's Ocean, and it is the biggest marketing scam probably ever. But I'm so bought in, hook, line, and sinker.
The
It's
cask,
so
the cask
ridiculous.
strength is really good. Did I introduce you to Jefferson Ocean, or was
You
it?
did.
You're not.
I think
You're
so.
not that night where we went out to that restaurant where.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was
Yeah, the
1792.
ropery, the basement.
Wasn't that 1790? No, I drank 1792, and you had Jefferson Ocean, maybe. I thought it was
Maybe.
1792. There's so many
I
whiskeys.
don't
It's
know.
hard to. It's hard to
So many
know.
whiskeys, so little time.
Right.
One of these days, when this all settles down, we are going to go out to a whiskey bar, and you're going to educate me a little bit more.
Yes. Anytime. Anytime. You let me know.
What are you drinking?
My house whiskey is Bellmead Sherry Cask. I'm a big, well, you know me, I love bourbon, but
Yeah.
more so on top of that, any bourbon that is sherry cask is probably my favorite. But Bellmead's a good
Okay.
one. It used to be cheaper, but they stopped making it, and so I end up buying like a couple of.
Yes, indeed. Cheers. Good whiskey, good people, good conversation. That's really all I require in life.
You're right. So how is
Somebody
life on?
asked,
Oh,
oh,
sorry, what were
yes,
you
somebody
saying?
asked if you are going somebody asked if you were going to be helping out on the Volvo build. And I don't know, will you?
When are you getting started on that? It's
Oh,
on
not
COVID hold
yet.
right now.
We're on COVID hold. Yeah, sadly. We've pushed back the unveil date because we were supposed to bring it to SEMA this year, but we're going to bring it to SEMA next year now. So we have more time. But we are likely going to be doing a funky engine swap on this thing again. So Angelina struggled through and won wiring up the BMW engine in the Chevy. So I figure if she can handle that, you can handle just about anything. Oh my God,
So
that was insanity, wasn't it?
that was insanity. Yes, actually, I was going through some pictures, and I gotta post it. I think we were testing out the throttle bodies on or the throttle body motor on the BMW, and I remember that moment because I was so frustrated. All of us were,
Oh
because
my gosh,
I
yeah.
I do believe we didn't sleep that night. I think
Oh God, yeah, no.
yeah, but and by that time light had already started to show from the sun outside, and I remember thinking, like, I was gonna make a post about it because I was sticking my finger in the picture. I'm sticking my finger in the throttle, one of the throttle bodies. And I always tell my students, like, don't do that no matter what. So, but it was just one of those moments. And I think I remember Jeff, because it was also, 3 a.m. or 4 a.m, commanded them closed and didn't tell me. And my finger was in there, and I like slipped it out just in time. So I just got a small flesh wound. But
oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
it wasn't significant. And I was mad at myself because, like, dumbass, like, even though I know that's what we were doing, like, I was still like, I know better than to do that. So if I got an injury, I can't even explain it. I'd have to make up some sort of story. But yeah, as long as my schedule permits, that sounds like fun.
Awesome. Good. Because, we've got to have some continuity here. Angelina's built the wiring harness for each of the all-female builds. I mean, I don't know what we would do without you. I'd have to do it myself, or
you guys
I
have
don't
managed.
know.
You are definitely more than capable.
Well.
Well, yes. Miss BMW.
Oh my goodness. But it's different. Building cars from scratch is different than fixing cars that already ran. Right? Like
You're a pro? Yeah, but you're a pro now. Like,
now
you've got all kinds of yeah, you're like, the new people coming in, you're like the meme with from, I don't know if it's Pirates of the Caribbean or what, where he's got the noose around his neck and he's like, first time, huh?
that one.
Oh, it's like I'll send him, and once I see it, I'll send a meme to you. But
okay.
Anyways, yeah, you're like a freaking veteran now. You're like, no matter what problem comes across, you're like, we got this. No
Well,
big deal.
I think that engine swap really challenged all of us, and pushed our skills to that next level, and really, like, if we could conquer that, everything else became less scary, because shoot, we made a BMW run in a Chevy, and like that, talk about challenging your understanding of basics, because you have to go back to those basics and figure out how to power up your fuel injectors and figure out how to wire and make all of that stuff happen from nothing. From, it's a totally different game than when you're taking the car behind you and trying to figure out why the alternator isn't running, and then replacing or fixing whatever you need to replace or fix. It's a totally different game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It challenged all of us, but
yes, in a good way. Might have taken years off of our life. But
that
okay.
too. I do have some gray hairs called the Chevy Montage, for sure.
You got to keep those ones. You earn those ones.
I know, for real. So now you've been doing some fun stuff, because you're switching up your topics that you're teaching. You're starting to add more courses to your repertoire, right?
Yes. So, I will be teaching the engine upper rebuild class this next semester.
Nice.
So I've been spending pretty much any and all free time on that, building material for it. I'm actually going to be doing a performance engine design course. It's a 3-day course in Havasu before the semester starts. So if anybody is in that class, I will definitely be sharing all the fun little snippets of information that he's got an LS that I want to say he made like 800, 900 horsepower, something crazy. And that's what we'll be using to tear down and measure.
Awesome.
It's going to be super fun, super fun. He's got a flow bench. And so we're going to be learning a lot of really fun things that they've been on my list for a long time, and nobody teaches that type of stuff. So, I will I'll definitely make a post to let everybody know, because I can't think of his name right now, but I'm super excited for that. And I plan on taking more. I'm still the tuning courses, the online tuning course I was telling you about, the High Performance Academy. They also offer engine building, which is really cool, because even though they've got a basic engine building course, you think like, okay, what could that entail? He's getting into how to calculate compression ratio, and not or compression ratio, but swept volume, and how much of the cylinder is actually getting used, and how to change some of these things. And so it's those like little measurement areas that I'd really like to incorporate in my class for my students, because you're going to be doing less and less OEM rebuilds. How do we stay relevant? What is an engine building class going to give you to be able to make money on? Well, if you know how to make design changes that will increase horsepower or efficiency, you're going to be valuable. So that's my goal. That's the product I would like to provide this upcoming semester. On top of a new tune-up class, we're still doing intro to hybrid and EV, and then an automotive principles class. So I'll be staying busy this fall.
Sounds like it all around. I love it. I bow down to you. I think that's
as I to you.
Absolutely amazing. And one of these days, like we've talked about this way back when, like I want to go do a tuning program with you. Like I want to learn, because it's a small percentage of people who can do like the hardcore tuning, and I want to know how to do it.
Well, especially when you're at the mercy of that small amount of people, it's nice to not have to worry about that. Especially, when you're building lots of custom builds out of your garage, it would definitely be helpful. And I'm still getting on that as well. I've got a dyno at school, so I'm hoping in these next couple semesters I'll be able to do some fun stuff. I do plan on eventually opening up like a tuning workshop at school. But if I ever end up doing something like that, I'm imagining it would be more short term, and so it just at least try to get in those little things if you're working with like a basic tuner or something like that, and then eventually go to a more advanced course. But
creating custom maps and all that good stuff. I love it. Oh my gosh, we are down to 5 minutes. So final words. Anything you want to share?
I miss Bogi Latiner.
No.
That's my
I miss you.
Those are my final words. It was so nice talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. This is a blast. I feel like we've got 100 more things to talk about. We're gonna have to like do this again. We're gonna do it again publicly, and we're gonna also have to do some like just catch up time on the phone. But I just saw somebody said they missed the whole thing. Don't worry, this will be on IGTV, so you can watch the whole thing all over again if you missed it. If you tuned in late, this will be online. Please, if you don't already follow Miss A, the shop teacher, make sure you do. She's, as you can tell, an incredible woman. She shares her knowledge, has a great way of teaching, and she's a hell of a lot of fun to be around. So make sure you give her a follow. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Angelina, thank you so much for joining me. One of these will be getting shipped out to you shortly.
Yay!
As a thank you. And I love you, and I miss you so much.
I love you, and I miss you so much as well. And goodbye to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This was super fun. Definitely have to do this again.
Definitely. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.